I am starting over. Over the past 2 years, I've used 1.4 million points and miles for incredible experiences. Two of my favorites are being able to take my parents first class on a flight and having them enjoy Delta Sky Club and Centurion Lounge. It was great just to give a little bit back to them. The second is my upcoming 10-day trip from Christmas through New Year's in Sydney, Australia. The cash value of the points and miles that I'm using for the Australia trip exceed over $40,000. I want to inspire you to unlock your dream travel no matter what it is. Whether you're just beginning or starting over like me, I'm going to show you my game plan and essential tips throughout the video to ensure your success with points and miles. So let's dive in. We're going to follow a 5-step plan. Step 1 is to identify your goals, and that's going to be the when, the where, and the how you want to travel. Once we know those goals of step 1, we need to review our existing credit cards to see the benefits as well as the fees that come with them. In step 3, we're going to identify the gaps that we have in our existing credit cards as it relates to our goals. In step 4, we're going to identify the potential credit cards that are going to help us fill those gaps to reach the goals that we have set. And then in step 5, we're going to prepare for the application process to ensure that we can get those credit cards that we are seeking to meet the goals. Now, before we get started, be sure to put in the comment section where your dream travel is that you want to be able to achieve. Step 1, identify your goals, the when, the where, and the how. It is imperative for us to first identify our goals so that we can develop a plan to truly be able to achieve those goals. So when it comes to my win, I have 3 trips. The first trip is a 1-week trip in the spring. The second trip is a long weekend in the summer or the fall. And then the last trip is a 10-day Christmas vacation for 2026. Because my wife and I both work full-time jobs, we must be able to plan ahead to be sure we can take the time off. When it comes to my where for those 3 trips, the first trip in the spring is 1 week to see my in-laws in Arizona by way of Las Vegas. The second trip is a long weekend for my wife and I to see our son. And the third trip in Christmas of 2026 is a return trip to the Hyatt Zilara Cap Cana. When it comes to the how, it is all about how do you want to get to the destination? And then how do you want to live while you're at the destination? When it comes to my first trip to Arizona, that involves round trip first class flight, a rental car for the week, and 2 days in Las Vegas at the Resorts World Crockford's West. The second trip would involve our trip to see our son, and that would involve a Southwest flight round trip, as well as staying at a Marriott, which is within walking distance of our son's apartment. And for that trip to Cap Cana, first class flight round trip with club level room at the Hyatt Zilara Cap Cana. Being specific on how you want to do your travel will help you immensely as you start building your plan towards it. Remember, this is not etched in stone. We're just using a pencil right now. This leads me to tip number 1, and that's to dream big. There is no downside whatsoever. I'm dreaming big to be able to go to the Hyatt Zilara Cap Cana in 2026 because that trip is going to cost me over 500,000 points and miles. We'll be taking 2025 to accumulate the points so that we can make a reservation at the beginning of 2026 to be able to ensure that we're getting the best rates for our points and miles as possible. That is the thing about big trips. It takes a lot of planning and it takes some time to accumulate the points and miles that you may need. Step number 2, review your current credit cards' benefits as well as the fees. When it comes to reviewing existing credit cards, just between the big 5 credit card issuers of American Express, Capital One, Chase, Citi, and Wells Fargo, my wife and I have 26 credit cards. Now, it did take me a little bit of time to go through the benefits and fees of 26 credit cards, but it helped me a lot, and I'm hoping it will help you. As for the credit card benefits that I'm seeing that can help me achieve these goals, I see that I have a $300 travel credit through Capital One for the Venture X. I have a $50 hotel stay on each of our Chase Sapphire Preferreds. I have a $200 Delta stay credit on my Delta Business Platinum, and my wife has a $150 Delta Stay credit on her Business Gold. We also have $200 hotel credits on each of our American Express Platinum cards, as well as $200 airline credits on each of our American Express Platinum credit cards. And we'll have access to the Fine Hotels and Resorts program through the American Express Platinum card. When it comes to the credits, I can see us being able to use the $300 Capital One Venture X credit towards a rental car while we're in Arizona, as well as being able to use the $200 hotel credits on each of our American Express Platinum cards towards the Fine Hotel and Resorts program that's also with American Express. And as for the long weekend to see our son, we're going to use the $200 Delta Stay credit, as well as the $150 Delta Stay credit, and the $50 credits that we have on each of the Sapphire Preferreds. When it comes to the annual fees on the credit cards, I'm good with all of them except for 3 of them. Now that's a lot of credits, which leads me to tip number 2. Do not focus on the annual fee of any credit card. I want you to focus on your own personal effective annual fee. And that's taking the annual fee of the credit card and deducting the value of the benefits of the credit card that you assign to them. And that will give you your own personal effective annual fee. I did a very deep dive on that exact kind of calculation for me with the American Express Platinum card one by one. I'll have a link for that in the description so that you can be able to follow along. An easy example is my wife's Delta Sky Miles Gold business card. In the first year, there is no annual fee, it's waived. But in year 2 and going forward, it's $150. But that credit card comes with the $150 Delta Stay credit. We used that $150 Delta Stay credit last year when we went to go see our son. And when looking at the Delta portal for these hotel rates, we found them to be very competitive, which allows us to get the full value of that $150. And because of that, that left us with an effective annual fee of 0. When I look at our credit cards, I see 3 negatives. The first one is the Alaska Airlines Companion Pass that we have on my Alaska Airlines credit card. This is one of the big features of the credit card, and it's a no-brainer benefit that doesn't require a lot of spend to reach it. My problem though is that from my home airport, I only have 1 Alaska flight a day, and it only goes to Seattle. When I got the credit card, I was excited about the Companion Pass, but I never paid attention to what flights left my home airport. So unless I want to be able to vacation on the West Coast or Alaska, it's not the most convenient benefit for me to use because I have to use more days to be able to go to other locations. I also have the American Express Preferred credit card with a $95 annual fee. I have not used that credit card in almost 2 years. It's no longer even available to apply for, so I don't necessarily know what I want to do with that yet. The third credit card is my American Express Hilton Business Card. I don't really use it that much anymore, and it's not really worth the annual fee I'm paying. The fourth potential issue is that we have a lot of Chase credit cards, but we have only limited spending on a lot of those, and that could potentially impact us negatively when we look to get additional credit cards. That Alaska Airlines credit card issue leads us to tip number 3. Be sure that you know you're going to utilize the benefits of the credit cards you're going to get. I made the assumption I could easily use the Companion Pass, but I did not do my own due diligence. So don't make the same mistake I did. Step number 3, identify the gaps in your existing credit cards. Now, if you're new to credit cards or just new to credit cards that focus on points and miles, this leads me to tip number 4, and that is take your time and be strategic. For example, let's take a look at 3 credit cards that I think everybody should at least consider, and that's the Bilt credit card, the Capital One Saver Rewards credit card, and one of the Capital One Ventures. Let's talk about why I suggest those credit cards. If you're a renter, you need to apply for the Bilt credit card. It's just that simple. It has no annual fee. It is the only credit card that will allow you to pay rent through the credit card on your primary residence with no processing fees. And on top of that, you can earn points on your spending on that credit card, including rent, to go towards travel partners. And 2 of the most popular travel partners on that credit card is Hyatt and Alaska Airlines. The second card is another no annual fee credit card, and that's the Capital One Saver. What makes this card so special is that you're going to get 3% on groceries, dining, entertainment, as well as streaming services. You'll even get a whopping 8% on purchases through the Capital One Entertainment Portal. And all of these are excellent categories for your daily spend. The third card is commonly the Capital One Venture X. It is a premium travel credit card with excellent multipliers for lodging, rental cars, as well as airfare through the Capital One Travel Portal. It also has 2x on all other spending, which makes it an excellent catch-all credit card. While the card does have a $395 annual fee, most people end up finding that Capital One is actually paying you $5 back once you factor in the travel credit and the anniversary bonus miles you get. By having the Venture X, you can also be able to convert the cashback of the Saver credit card to Capital One miles. These 3 credit cards can generate an outstanding amount of miles in points for your travel needs. I've done videos on all 3 of these credit cards, as well as the 2 other Venture Capital One cards that you need to know about. I will also have links for where you can apply for these credit cards, and so be sure that they're competitive, but if you do, they really do help out the channel. So thank you in advance. When I'm looking at the gaps in our credit card setup, I'm seeing that when it comes to Capital One, we need to look at getting the Saver credit card to match with the Capital One Venture X. When it comes to Citi, I have the Strata Premier, but I still need to look at the Double Cash as well as the Custom Cash credit cards. My wife doesn't have any of the Citi credit cards, so she would just start working on her trifecta. When it comes to the American Express credit cards, I pretty much have filled out my quota, but I'm going to look at canceling my Hilton business credit card and getting the Marriott business credit card. When it comes to American Express for my wife, she only has the Platinum credit card and the Delta SkyMiles Gold business credit card, so she'll be focusing on just looking at options where they have big bonus options. When it comes to Chase, I only have the Sapphire Preferred credit card, so I will be looking at other possibilities. When it comes to Chase for my wife, she has a few credit cards, but she's going to need to get prepared for potential new credit cards, and I'll talk about that in a few moments. Of these gaps, we are only going to focus on American Express and Chase for this year. The reason we're going to be focusing on American Express and Chase is because our airline and lodging focus for this year is going to be Delta for our airline, as well as Marriott and Hyatt for our lodging. With American Express, we're going to be able to look at the Marriott business credit card. We're also going to be able to have Delta as a transfer partner for us to accumulate membership reward points for potential transfer to Delta. And when it comes to Chase, we are only using our Chase rewards points for Hyatt. Now let's move to step number 4, and that's finding the credit cards to fill the gaps. We identified the gaps that were with all of our credit cards in step number 3, and we also determined what we were going to focus on of those gaps, which was American Express and Chase. So for American Express, I'll be looking to close my Hilton business credit card and to get the Marriott business card. That's going to give me 3 free reward nights as part of the welcome bonus commonly, as well as getting 1 reward night each year by just having the credit card. That will help us out immensely on our yearly trips to go see our son. After that Marriott business card, I'm going to have to focus on preparation, and I'll talk about that in step 5. And when it comes to my wife with American Express, she's just going to basically be looking at any credit cards that may pop up that can be very beneficial. When it comes to Chase, I'm actually not going to be able to be a participant in looking at credit cards in 2025, and I'll explain why in step number 5. For my wife with Chase, she's going to have to be doing some preparation as far as the current credit cards that she has. This all leads us up to step 5, and that is preparing for success with the application process. One great thing with credit card issuers these days is that they have pre-qualification tools so that you can be able to look at the possibility of you qualifying for a credit card without you having a hard inquiry and impacting your score. But there are some things you need to keep in mind. Let's start with American Express, and that leads me to tip number 5. And that is American Express pop-up jail is real. Getting put into pop-up jail normally occurs when American Express believes that you may just be getting their credit cards for the welcome bonuses. And that's normally coming from the lack of spending on their credit cards or spending up to a certain level on those credit cards. You know that you're in American Express pop-up jail when you apply for one of their credit cards and you actually get a pop-up. and it will tell you you can get the credit card, but you're not eligible for the bonus. Now, I do have to say that while you may be in pop-up jail, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are universally in pop-up jail for all of their credit cards. I have definitely been in pop-up jail on some of those popular credit cards, especially when they've had very good welcome bonuses and not been able to get those. But I was able to close my Delta Business Gold credit card and be able to get the Platinum credit card with the welcome bonus. Now, if you do find yourself in American Express pop-up jail, there's not one set easy way to get out of it. In my case, I'm gonna take the long route to get out of jail. And that's gonna involve me not applying for any credit cards for the next 6 to 9 months and focusing on increasing my spend on all of my American Express credit cards that I have. As for Chase, that will be my wife's priority. When it comes to Chase for me, I'm not going to be able to be a participant in getting credit cards from Chase. The problem I have is that I'm over 524. And for those that don't know what 524 is, that involves a person having more than 5 personal credit cards in a 24-month period where Chase will not approve you in most cases for any credit card. I will be under 524 near the end of 2025. Now, my wife is under 524, but we need to do some preparation. As I mentioned earlier, she has a number of Chase credit cards that have limited spend on those. So we're gonna look to increase our spending on those Chase credit cards so that when the time comes that she will be more favorable as an applicant because she is an active user of all of the credit cards she has. Based on this 5-step plan, I can see very good paths for success for a trip to Arizona and Las Vegas, as well as the trip to see our son. When it comes to Cap Cana, well, that's gonna be a process, and we'll just have to check in periodically and see how we're doing. By following this 5-step plan, as well as the tips I provided you along the way, you will be able to develop a plan that's gonna be able to get you closer to your dream vacation. And so now that you are able to develop the plan, you're going to need the credit cards that are going to be able to get you those points and miles that you're going to need to be successful. And I've got 6 of them right here.